everybody. Super pumped to be here. I've got two of my absolute favorite people on this call, and I am really pumped to get into the session and topic here. Before that, quick plug and some housekeeping stuff. In Riverside, you can add in the chat below. Of course, we can add your questions to the screen, so make sure you jump in with any questions you have. If you're brave enough to get on camera, there's a button for that too. We can, of course, get that going.
That would be fun.
Would love some smiling faces here. Aside from that, coming up in about 5-ish weeks from now, we wrapped our Dallas live event that both Justin and Taz were there for at the end of August. And we have our second live event of the year coming up in Vegas at the Hard Rock on the Strip. Pretty cool venue, if I do say so myself. And that is on November 6th. That's going to be a full day, 9 to 5. We have a happy hour afterwards. We have a live build session during lunch. And every speaker that we have is basically building something with you live and opening the books. It's not going to be a listen to the philosophy. It's the how to actually get the stuff done. So when you leave, you are off to the races and not with, pages and notes on how to do it. It's actually doing it live with you. So I'm pretty pumped there.
You mean like theoretical knowledge isn't enough? Just
the whole rah, hey, here's what I built. No. How did you build it? Why did you build it? And how can I do it with you live in the room?
That's my favorite thing about this community, this collective, is that it's true operators that don't just talk about it from a high level. And no offense to that, that's needed as well. But people that have actually built the thing that people are talking about, unpacking exactly how to build the thing, kind of step-by-step workshop directions. There isn't enough of that in our world, in our community, in the real estate industry.
Right. And I'm not the one that coined this. I can't recall who it was, but there's no shortage of ideas. It's the shortage of implementation. If we can bridge the gap there into just showing you how to do it live in the room together, we're going to see the industry as a whole just, improving it better. So without further ado, we've got Justin Benson and Taz Weatherly here. Justin is the founder and CEO. Shiloh. I started out with our agency used by tons of the top teams in the country and North America more broadly. Complete wizard. He's got some interesting background in the music industry. And I think you said medicine at some point, right?
Biochem degree. I wanted to be a doctor. Well, I don't know if I wanted to. My parents wanted me to be a doctor at one point.
Gotcha. And then Taz hopped on last minute. She is the chief of staff for Shiloh and another wealth of knowledge.
New title. Yeah, Taz is head of strategic relationships at Shiloh, because chief of staff was we don't know what. Taz is a talent, right? So one of those things with an organization.
There's only one Taz.
Yeah, you have to, when you run across a talent, you do your best to make up positions and find revenue and go rob the piggy bank to figure out how to get those people on the bus, and you figure it out later. And Taz has been around for a while trying to figure out exactly where she's going to slate. And Taz is fantastic at building relationships. So I know a lot of people that were there at the lab event got to see her speak, and it was fun even afterwards, having Janelle from Follow Boss reach out and hey, I want to pick Taz's brain more about building community and stuff, so Taz is a wizard at this relationships thing.
Absolutely. Well, without further ado, I'll let you guys take it on. I am here. I'm going to jump in. I want to ask you guys a ton of questions too, but without further ado, you guys, Justin and Taz.
Yeah. Well, I hate things that are webinar monologue-y situations, so I'd rather have a fireside chat around this.
I will ask more questions. How about that?
Yeah. So to start, you've been using Shiloh for a bit, Chase, right? There's this weird misconception that just because, you see a lot of really big teams sharing about using Shiloh, huge real estate, it feels name droppy, but again, go to the website. There's lots of big names that and are good at what they do. And we get a lot of people going well, but it's only for big teams, right? It's only for big teams. That's actually not true, because you have been using it in your organization for a little bit, right?
Absolutely. We were one of the first, 50 or what number? Yeah, early adopter. And I would use it as a solo agent, to be honest. You can only get so much support out of your broker, manager, coach, limited time. And a lot of that doesn't necessarily drill down into call review and coaching actual calls, and that's just a huge value to me and value to us, and it's been such a fun thing to have.
Yeah. What's the best competition that you've run so far? You buy anybody beers or something for getting the most 5-star calls or anything?
You know what's funny? We have a win the week contest that we run every week, and it's basically a Follow Boss leaderboard plus a few things, contracts, that kind of thing. And I just added, after Dallas, I just added the 5-star call as a pretty high point total on there. So that's been something that we added recently.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's awesome, dude. I love to hear that. And Shiloh, just to get you, Shiloh, the official spiel on it is Shiloh is an intuitive AI assistant built specifically for real estate teams that it listens, coaches, and guides agents in real time. So that way they can close with confidence, right? And what that practically means is that it is listening to the phone calls that an organization makes, and it's coaching them, it's grading them, it's creating clarity into all of them, because so at this point we have the equivalent of 13 years of continuous talk time analyzed by Shiloh. In one calendar year, we have analyzed 2 million calls. That is 13 years of continuous talk time. And there's some really interesting data in there, right? So like, people spend a lot of money on leads and systems and coaching, and still every single day, what this data is showing is that agents are fumbling the most important thing that they're doing on a weekly basis or on a daily basis, which is the conversations that they're having. Like, real estate is a person-to-person thing. And I'm not just saying that as a tech guy. Like, I once built a team that spanned 3 states and sold a lot of houses. So I sold 400 some odd homes before I ever got out of production. So I know what it's like to be a team leader and to be an agent and to scale a real estate organization. And the conversations matter more than anything. It's the lifeblood of our industry, right? And because there's no clarity in those conversations, we got more missed deals and frustrated clients than we even have clarity into seeing. And it's mostly because, like, I don't know, like Taz, you sold a lot of real estate out in Idaho, right? Like, it's impossible to scale a Taz as you're building an organization. Taz can't be on every call with every agent with every hour of the day, right? That's absolutely impossible. And over those 13 years of continuous talk time, 86, dude, get this, 86% of the calls ended without a clear next step.
You know what's funny about that is I saw your reel. You posted that from I think you were at Cheplack.
Speaking of the Cheplack thing, yeah.
Yeah. And I sent that to my team and I said, watch this and go role play.
Dude, like 1.7 million missed opportunities to push the conversation further down the line, right? Like, yep. 1.7 missed opportunities. That's wild. And then the second interesting stat that came out of it was 61% of those calls ended without providing any clear value to the end consumer. Like, why? Well, I have a lot of hypotheses around this. COVID era was really easy to sell real estate, and agents are used to, they're great lead sources, but they're easy lead sources, like Zillow Flex, for example, where it's Sally that wants to see 123 Main Street tonight, at 5 o'clock. You just need to get out of Sally's way and schedule the appointment. But agents have turned into order takers, not subject domain experts like they need to be, right? So in order to provide that value on the phone, we have to be able to ask the right questions to get objections to show up. And when those objections show up, we, as a subject matter expert, are able to calm the fears and handle those objections with grace and clarity for people, right? 61% of those calls ended without that happening. So, like, what is that? 13% of the call total is only 13% of those calls like meaningfully move the conversation into next steps at that point, right? So if we were to like just solve that portion of things, so if we were to just solve the next steps, forget about everything else. If we increase our performance by 5% across all of those phone conversations, that's 87,000 more opportunities and the equivalent of about $650 million of GCI left on the table.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
We're used to hearing 650 million as a volume number for some giant team. That's not a volume number. That's a freaking GCI number.
This number. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been really cool to see people utilize Shiloh to increase their conversion rates. And like, you hit the nail on the head there. Like, inside of Shiloh, the thing that we found out is magical is that when you gamify quality of conversation, it moves some dominoes that we are always struggling to try to figure out how to move, which is, how do I get agents to make more phone calls? And then how do I get my appointment set rate to increase, right? Yep. So if Chase is running a competition for who gets the most 5-star calls or who gets a 5-star call, which is honestly a better competition to run with Shiloh, the reason for that is that any sales team...
Singular.
Yeah, and any sales team, if you run a who gets the most, that's fine. You can run that competition as well. But every sales team's dominated by, 1 or 2 or 3 people that are just better than everybody else. And everybody else that is not one of those 3 people gives up on those all or nothing competitions. But if you run a competition like, hey, if anybody gets a 5-star call this week, you're going to get, Chase is going to bring you out to happy hour, right? Or Taz is going to paint you all a fun painting. Taz likes to paint. So something like that, right? And if they're trying to get 5-star calls, one, they're going to have to make phone calls. And like Levi's account, which I'm going to show you here in a little bit, he's made about 4,500 calls in the past 30 days. And only about 30 of them are 5-star calls. They're not easy to get, right?
Really tough to get.
Yeah, they're not easy to get. So it's worth gamifying, actually.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to make a bunch of phone calls to even have a shot at getting the 5-star call. And then if they're focusing on quality of conversation and listening to the coaching feedback, guess what's going to happen? They're going to increase their conversion rate. And that's not just in the real estate space. Like we're letting Alina, he use it as well inside of her organization for her people. And like one of her it was a bit of an experiment to see like, oh, I wonder how Shiloh would do in that regard. And one of her one of her gals over there listened to Shiloh's feedback, implemented on the very next call, and set her first appointment for, key technologies, which is really fun to see, right? So I don't know. Did I miss anything on that side before I start showing people Shiloh?
I mean, I think that's a great intro. I'd like to know,
Taz, yeah.
How did you, what triggered you to even want to go this route from where you came from, which in my understanding is, custom build outs, custom tech solutions, software stuff? What tipped the scales into seeing this need and trying to fill it?
Yeah, I mean, Shiloh was created originally as a project for a bar agency client. So lots of people know me, Justin Benson, for the past, I forget how many years, as the CEO bar agency. I am technically still CEO. It feels a bit more like a Queen of England title. I don't really do anything. That's actually false. I still troubleshoot high level technical issues over there, but we have awesome people like Josh Freed, who's principal of real estate over there, awesome. And Nicole, our CEO. They're the reason why that organization runs so well. And this was built because Levi Rogers came to us as a bar agency client like 2.5 years ago. And he goes, hey man, I got 300 agents, like 9 sales managers and Zillow Flex, and I cannot figure out how to scale this phone calls thing. The bigger I get, the worse it is becoming. Like I'm getting less and less clarity into all of these phone calls. Can you guys do something to fix that? Welcome to bar agency. We're used to getting that like, hey, there's not anything that exists that does this thing. Can you go ahead and build that for us? That's what we kind of got famous to be as a company. So we spooled up this prototype. And a month later, with the very first model that OpenAI had ever released, AI was just new on the scene. So it was the month after ChatGPT was unveiled to the world. So that next January, we used that Da Vinci model to create this thing that was attached to his Follow Boss, listening to phone calls, grading, coaching to the best of its ability at that time, right? Those models were not as great as the ones that we have now. But over a 6-month span, we were watching as we improved that prototype, and his appointment set rate increased by 73%. And his call volume increased by like 90, I think it was 92 some odd percent, right? Mm-hmm. And that got us to pay attention to it and go, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what's happening there. So Levi was the one that said, hey, this gamification of this quality of conversation thing is really interesting. So we took it, prototyped it on another bar agency client to see if it would work again, and it did. So then for the next calendar year, in secret, without telling anybody, we downloaded the equivalent of about 3 million hours of phone calls, and we trained the very first version of Shiloh from the ground up to really understand how to operate as a real estate agent. What you should say, what you shouldn't say. And now what's really interesting is I'm currently going through the refactoring and retraining. I'm the one that trains all the models over here. So I'm going through the retraining of all of the models now that we have a lot of incredible call data. Now, there is no guessing at like what converts and what does not convert. We have the largest data set in the entire industry, not just captured, but coached, graded, subsected, all of that good stuff to be able to use that data to train and go, okay, hey, we now know when we say, hey, Shiloh, this is what you should say to Chase when he does not do X. We know that the feedback that Shiloh is giving is from literal best practices from the best teams that exist on the planet across Northern America at this point, right? So it's really fun to be able to say that, and it's just going to keep getting better and better. So
yeah, that's so cool. No, that's just so cool. I love hearing you explain it that way too.
Hit the nail on the head. It's a very good origin story.
Okay, perfect. See, I'm going to be prone to saying things like I hit the head on the nail or something. Dyslexic, Justin.
And real quick, for those that are watching, just not from a name drop standpoint, but from a just context standpoint, can you share 30 seconds about who the Levi Rogers team is and why that data set would be important and all those calls that they're making?
Yeah. So the Levi Rogers team are any given month, at least number two, if not number one, as far as like highest converters for all of Zillow Flex, right? So they are a really incredible team, hover around 300 agents, and Levi is a tier 2 operator, Green Beret, Purple Heart recipient. He's an actual war hero. Like,
War hero, freaking insane.
like actual war hero. The guy's a badass, like absolute badass. And because of that, Shiloh kind of got trained in this like pit of like absolute. He can do things that his organization is very, very unique because, you know, a lot of people say, oh man, the agents, they don't listen to me as the team leader. It's not the same in Levi's org. When Levi says like jump, like 300 agents just jump right then and there because of the culture that he's built. And honestly, a lot of ex-military people that he has a heart for, because, you know, real estate is basically what saved his life, right? He got out of the hospital, got out of special forces, and that's a very hard transition for a human being going from being an actual like elite operator to now I'm a civilian. And real estate gave him something to latch on that helped him through that transition. So he cares a lot about that as an organization. So because of that, they're obviously one of the biggest teams that exists on the planet and one of the highest performing ones that exists as well.
Yeah,
And
that's awesome.
to that, Justin, like with Levi's organization, what's cool about Shiloh is that it takes that success that these big teams are having and makes it super attainable for those that might be in either the messy middle or looking to grow without the scaling and overhead that these massive teams have had to do.
Oh yeah, that's a good point, right? Because again, like I said, like you can't scale yourself. And as you add more agents and more conversations and more deals to your organization, this problem only gets worse and worse and worse until a tool like Shiloh, and honestly, like the invention of AI shows up to help solve some of these problems for us, right? So sweet. Well, this is Shiloh. This is the dashboard. So fun thing about this is that it literally takes 5 minutes to onboard. It is not a take over your life situation, right? Like we called Chase and, you know, 5 minutes had Shiloh connected and the rest of it was just mostly me and Chase catching up. So yeah, it's a 30-minute onboarding call. We know that there's kind of 3 ways we now at this point, and this is recent because we've only been doing this for about a calendar year, right? Like out in the public, we now know where you should implement Shiloh to get the, like, I don't know, you hear stuff about us talking about like, oh, the Whistle Realty Group increased their appointment set rate by 146%. You're like, whoa, that's crazy. Like, how do I get those numbers? And for a little while, we didn't know, actually. We didn't know how people were getting those numbers. But now we know because like agent onboarding, weekly team meetings, like you just said that you were talking about, right? Celebrating 5 stars, creating competitions around that, and then weekly role play sessions with your organization. Those 3 areas is how you utilize Shiloh to make sure that you get that ROI and also create a culture to let people know that like this conversation thing matters to us as an organization, right? So what's fun is we started catching on to some of that because Whistle crashed our roleplay server 3 times. Because at one point we thought, no way is anybody ever going to have more than 50 people at one time from one singular organization try to roleplay at the same time. That probably won't happen. Well, it did. So then we upped it to like 75. And well, that happened again. And we upped it to like 80. And then that happened again. So now it's like, okay, great. We got infrastructure for 100 concurrent users from one singular organization. So you know that the reason why that happened is because Whistle Realty takes training and agent development very, very seriously. And well, they had that many people role playing all at the same time on Shiloh, which is a lot of fun. So this dashboard, after it's connected, fun thing is like your groups, teams, stage, tags, all sources, all of that stuff, you set that in Follow Boss. There's no configuration of that stuff, right? So you make those changes in Pub, they show up here in real time. And then all of the rest of these filters are literally created by AI. So Shiloh just comes out of the box doing what it does. And on this dashboard, there's some fun things here, right? You have this activity feed refreshes live every time a brand new call happens, which is really, really, really fun, right? Well, I actually realized that I'm in my dev environment and I'm giving sneak peeks to there's a little appointments tab right here.
There you go.
It is not built out yet, but by unlock.
Saw it here first.
Yep. By unlock, you will be able to utilize Shiloh to record, coach, and train in-person appointments as well. But let me go to Levi's real account here. Okay, sweet. Okay, so good information there.
I have courtesy. I'm not going to double tap you on that one because you just shot off like 85 indicators, and I'm like, wait
a minute.
I'll see you in Vegas.
Yeah, it'll be great. It'll be fun. So let's grab, I don't know. I don't have demo data. This is a live account. So this call happened just a few hours ago. This is as zoomed in as we can possibly get, right? So we are face to face with one individual call record. So this happens within about 30 seconds, give or take, after you hang up the phone and follow boss. Nothing extra you need to do. Just have call recording turned on in Pub, and Shiloh will do the rest for you, right? So it's a 3-star call, and I'll unpack that in a second. Call summary of what happened here, the outcomes, some information around filler words and questions asked and stuff like that, right? And then there's the transcript over here. But what's fun about the transcript is like, okay, 8-minute transcript, like, oh, this is like still tedious to get through. So to speed that up, you guys can enter custom keywords in the back end. Literally anything, words, acronyms, phrases. You could we have a lot of teams monitoring the phrase just checking in because we don't want people to say that phrase, for example, right?
Touching base.
Yeah, just touching base, So those, even that, we take those keywords and we spool them up to the individual agent level on their coaching page and then up to the org level to see, okay, who's saying those keywords the most or the least in that circumstance. But here on the individual call, what it allows us to do is get to those moments, the data that we care about fast, right? So they mentioned house 3 times. If I click on that, well, there's the 3 times that they mentioned the word house, right? So it gets us to that very quickly. But let's unpack the important thing, which is this 3-star call. Shiloh's call rating is from 1 to 5. And it's taking into consideration a myriad of things in its assessment of what a call rating is. But the easiest way to explain it is this. Shiloh is looking at 3 categories to go, okay, amongst these 3 categories is how it's compiling this call rating. So the first category, and this is in no specific order, by the way, but the first category is your ability to inspire confidence and build trust with the other human being that we are talking with, right? We have enough data in Shiloh to know that if you get 2 objections to show up on a call, actually increases your conversion rate by about 20%. So that you would think, oh my gosh, but why? They have objections. Oh no, because Chet Black used to say, like, you do not hang up the phone until you get at least 3 objections to show up, basically. Like, that was his thing, because objections is our way to build trust with somebody. Right. They are concerned about market timing. They're concerned about how much it's going to cost, and they don't know if they can qualify for a loan, right? It gives us an opportunity to say, as the subject domain expert, to go, oh, hey, actually, I hear you on that, and I understand that that's a fear, and there's probably a couple solves to figure that out for you. Let me unpack that, right? So that's the first one. And then the second one is your ability to manage objections and answer questions, which goes kind of hand in hand with that building trust thing, right? But more specifically, without being overly salesy, without being I don't know how else to put it, like a used car salesman on the phone, and being able to explain it simply without technical jargon. You can't say things like, oh yeah, we're going to use the seller disclosure and we're going to get the LSU sent to the consumers. Like, what's the LSU? I don't know what any of this stuff is, right? A real expert can explain things in simple terms in a way that people can understand. That's when you have mastery over a topic. And then the third thing that it cares a whole lot about is setting clear next steps. And I know I just talked about this, but not a chase, let's follow up sometime next week. Not that. Shiloh hates that. Shiloh wants you to say, hey, Chase, I'm going to send you all these listings, and I'm pretty wide open on Sunday. Let's just get a time on the calendar now to go see your top 2 or 3 homes. That's really our best next step here, right? Firm, committed next steps is kind of, and that's the grading criteria. So if a 1 to 2-star call shows up, you know that they failed at 1 or 2 or all 3 of those categories. A 3-star call shows up is satisfactory. We know that they checked off all 3 boxes at about an intermediate level. And we can see that here, the appointment was not set, but a next step was created, but probably a loose next step. And we'll figure that out in a second, because I actually don't know, haven't looked at this call today. And then if they set a clear next step, that would historically move it to a 4-star call at that point, right? Okay, great. Now, the difference between a 4 and a 5, you can do a lot of 4-star calls and sell a ton of houses. That's an excellent call. That's a good call. But if you want to get like a ideal call, like creme de la creme call, the difference between those 4s and 5s are soft skills oriented, which are hard to master. Anchoring positive emotions to conversations, mirroring cadences, managing your own emotional state, because Shiloh is aware of your tone of voice whenever you're talking, not just the words that you're using, right? So in order to get things there, it wouldn't just be like, I don't know, Chase is a first-time home buyer. Let's use this example. All right, Chase, I got us all penciled in for Sunday at 3:00. Excited to meet you. I'll see you soon. And then get off the phone. That's mostly what people do, right? But to anchor positive emotions to conversations and chase a first-time home buyer, I could say something like, hey, all right, I got us penciled in for 3 o'clock. I'll send you email confirmation here in a bit, and we'll kind of get the list of properties dialed in, this afternoon. We'll check in this afternoon to figure that out. But honestly, even more excited, I'm excited to meet you, but honestly, way more excited that you'll never have some landlord force you to patch some holes and paint walls in a house that you don't even own, and you just like pray to God you get your security deposit back at the end of all of that. Like those days are done.
More on the emotional side and the feeling side of the feel good stuff. Right?
Exactly. Like I'm excited that like that day is done for you, and I know you got a lot of questions, but I'm going to be here to guide you through that, and we're going to get you past that portion of your life, right? So now, like I'm starting to go, okay, now this isn't just about seeing a house. This is about like the dream of first-time home ownership now, right? You have to do things like that to get a 5-star call, right? So let's dive into this one. If I hover over the star rating, what it's going to show me is what model is used to grade it, because we have the core sales model, which is made for licensed real estate agents. We have a customer service model, which is really made for those conversations, appointment, under contract, a listing agreement signed downwards through the funnel, and you can assign the different models to the stage. So that way, depending on what stage you can see here that call was placed on, it will use the appropriate model. We have a recruiting model for recruiting agents to your brokerage, downline, what have you. And then like First Team is using it. Their recruiting department is using it. And then the fourth model is a non-licensed ISA model. And that one is, it's got some fun little tricks up its sleeve. Like if the ISA says, oh yeah, well, I think the house next door is probably worth like 400 grand. Shiloh will hand them back a 1-star call and say, nope, you can't say that, right? Or even more gray area things like, oh yeah, hey, we're a group of agents that's the #1 team in San Antonio. That's not okay either, because the word we just implied personal agency, that you are one of those real estate agents talking on the phone. You cannot do that as a non-licensed person. So Shiloh will even be aware of that stuff and, hand that back and say, no, here's a better phrase next time, right? We have the most agents here in San Antonio, and we have a track record of doing X, Y, and Z kind of thing. It can be them, but it can't be we, right? So this reason here is what literally asks Shiloh the question, like, what's the reason you gave this call? A 3, and it's explaining its reasoning. So this is the what behind it. What did Shiloh see in this call that made it give a 3-star? So lots of really good information here, but most agents are going to read this and go, cool, but how? Like, how is my issue? Not what, So cool, thank you, but tell me how. This is the agent coaching. So this is the top moments and the top improvements for what happened on this phone call. So things that went well, good job empathizing with Abe's frustration about previous real estate agents, things like that, right? And then offering multiple solutions, securing a tentative next step for Monday, follow up on Monday to confirm the Wednesday appointment. Like that, it didn't like that as much because it should have been a much more specific next step, but we'll get into that here in a second. But the things that really need to improve here, mastering the introduction. He hesitated on the intro of this call. So let's go take a peek at that. Good morning, Abe. Hello. Yeah, good morning. I was looking for Abe Agosta. Yeah, this is him. How can I help you? This is Francisco, Levi Rogers Group. Abe, I was reaching, like, this is not a good start. This is not a great way to start this conversation. So Shiloh's saying, hey, you lacked confidence is what happened here, right? You should just introduce yourself as, Abe, this is Francisco Rojas with the Levi Rogers Group. I'm following up about your request for a home valuation on your property on Heather Star. Nice, confident, to the point, right? Reframing objections about cash offers, or even clarifying the value proposition here. Really good information about, like, this one's interesting. He said, hey, we're actually 250 agents to be exact, but didn't tie that. Like, a consumer does not care how many agents are on your team. They do not care about that at all. They only care about getting their home sold for top dollar. That is all they care in this circumstance, right? Like that's what this person cares about. So he should have tied the size of the organization to the true USP here, which is, hey, we have 250 agents specializing in your area. We got a extensive network of buyers and investors, which means we can sell your property faster and for top dollar. Ta-da, there's the thing that we're aiming at, right? So if he implements these things, this is how we get to our 5-star call. But the fun thing about this is, like, now, how does he do that? You click on the role play button up here, and I don't think this is going to stream the audio from my computer, which is unfortunate on these ones. It does it on Zoom, but for some reason on Riverside, I don't think it works. But what just happened here is Shiloh just ingested this conversation, the tonality, the objections, everything that happened, And it's going to allow me to try to have a version of this conversation again and see if I can implement this, right? So I know that I should have a stronger intro here, right? So if I click start role play, we'll see. I mean, I'll just let it run a couple of things because you'll be able to see it on the screen as well, even though you might not be able to hear the voice. Hey, Abe. This is Justin with the Levi Rogers Group. How are you doing today? I am doing great. Like I mentioned, I'm from the Levi Rogers Group, and I'm following up on your request for your home valuation report for your property on Heather Star.
I got it. Yeah, I remember that.
Okay. So you guys can't hear the audio streaming back, right? No. That's a bummer.
It's all good. It's all good. But I don't think I received a report.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what happened. That's what happened on this call, right? This is not we're not having a generic conversation. I don't think I ever even received one. Is what happened here. Negative sentiment conversation here. Oh, sorry to hear that. You should have received it via email. Okay.
Well, so hey, Justin, hold on though. But while you're talking about this, you skipped an important step. So he paused the role play, and I'll let you give the Shiloh version of it. My version of that is you're practicing with a robot, so you're getting all of the flubs and thought processes out of the way on a robot to not have those same hurdles on a live call.
Correct.
So you can pause this anytime you want and really process what was said and how you want to reframe your answer. If that is reading the original transcript to see where it's going and cheat a little bit, great. If it's literally pausing to find where you want to go on the coaching stuff, the point here is you're able to literally just cut it in the middle of it and think through how you're going to take it to the next step. Yeah,
that's exactly the case, right? Because like if you get thrown an objection and you've never practiced it in real life, like if it's still in real time speed, right? Like me as a musician or even as in sports, right? I played baseball at ASU. Both circumstances are the same in which you do not start practicing at full speed. You start practicing at half speed. Yep. And then you slowly repeat and repeat and repeat until you get up to full speed. But you can't just practice at full speed. I mean, people that do that, like I have any golfers listening to this thing, that's the equivalent of those people that go to the range and just hit a bucket of balls blindly, thinking that they're just going to get better and swing as hard as they possibly can at the golf ball every single time. Well, they actually don't get better, they actually get worse.
It's the guy that goes, hits a bucket of drivers and never tries the chip shot or the putt. He just goes and just tries to hit bombs the whole time.
But it's so much more fun to be able to say you outdrove your friends and then still took 8 shots to get to the par 4. So yeah. So yeah, you hit a good point there that you can pause and gather your thoughts before moving on. Yeah. So if I unpause this, I could continue on. After I get done, I can submit the role play, right? And if I submit that, what's really fun is that I can go in and I can see all of the role plays that have happened in this organization. If you're an individual agent logged into Shiloh, you can't see everybody else's role plays or anybody else's calls. So you'll see just your role plays. And now we can see like, okay, look, Catherine, her original role play was a 2. And now the new one is a 4. Like, way to go. She's improving, right? And what's really cool about this is for training agents on either for onboarding or for those kind of weekly role play sessions. So you can create team libraries where, okay, great. One thing for Levi's organization is if you jump on his team, you have to be able to come and turn at least 5 of these calls into 5-star calls until you're ready to be allowed to take real live Zillow Flex leads, right? So it creates this really fun pass or fail thing. And I have adamantly disagreed with persona-based role plays. The role plays that you guys have seen out in the marketplace thus far, which is like, I'm role playing with a sign call. Maybe even there's an easy, medium, and hard version of that. Yep. But the issue of that is that you're only role playing with one persona. So it creates this like false sense of security where you go, oh, cool, I've nailed it. I'm good, right? And then you get on with a like high D personality type that literally speaks in like 2 to 3 words at a time and then just sits silent waiting for you to do something. And you don't know what to do. You're completely thrown for a loop now. So now that you can create these role play libraries out of actual live calls that have happened, it's simulating real life now. We are role playing 100%. The same lead source with multiple personas, right? So it is a much more comprehensive way of training real estate agents. And because it's capturing all the conversations, you can role play things like seller price reductions that like all the COVID era agents are like, what do you mean? I got to call a seller and you mean I got to talk them down on their price what?
What market is this?
Yeah, what do you mean? I gotta convince them to drop their price by $10,000 because they haven't gotten any showings in the past 60 days? Yes, you do. So those calls are graded and recorded by Shiloh, so you can also role play those and use those as examples. And what's even more fun is, let's say like a 5-star call shows up in here, like it looks like one just did. You can take this call and go, okay, this is like a customer service based call. We hover over this, we can see the model was used customer service because the stage is under contract here. I can click this because agents don't have access to each other's calls, but then I can copy this link and put it in my team's Slack or text message or whatever you guys use. And you can go, hey, congrats, Sarah, on your 5-star call. Also, everybody check out how she did this thing. I would love for everybody to role play this 5-star call and see if you can also get the 5 stars as well. You can not just try on the bad calls, but you can also try on the good calls as well, right?
There you go.
And then all of this data lives in FUB automatically for you. So if I click CRM contact right here, it's going to bring me to the Follow Boss contact record of this client of Samora. And if I go down here to the Follow Boss or our FUB widget, look at all of the calls that have ever happened to Samora over here. We can see them all. So then I can click into them. I can see our average call rating is a 3.6, which is good. If that starts falling below 3 on an individual client, we know that we are not having good conversations, things are going wrong. But these are all 3s and 4s basically, right? And then a 5-star call. I can click on that 5-star call, see what went well, look at the agent coaching, any action items, click view in Shiloh, and ta-da, I'm right back in Shiloh. So before I move on to this insights page, I don't know, anything you think I'm missing, Taz or Chase, or questions people might have?
Well, one thing, and I'm such a nerd, and I've got really, really bad OCD with like 2 things. And one of them is graphics and look and presentation. And not to toot your horn too much, but this is one of the best looking tools that are out there. And we all know one of the reasons that we've been with FUB for so long is it's just easy, looks good, it doesn't break, right? This is one of the most intuitive looking and prettiest softwares you're going to log into. And that alone encourages adoption. And I think is one of the big reasons why it is so fun to be in, because of how clean and sexy it's been built. So that's just a testament to your dev team and you for the most part.
Yeah. And our good friend, Anthony Ferrara, who is a design UI UX genius, actually. So funny story on that. When we first released Shiloh into the world, we did not have the ability for agents to log in. It was only a manager tool back in the very beginning. And the day that we decided, okay, we're going to create the ability to invite an entire team to it, we thought this little intercom thing down here of support tickets was going to get blown to smithereens. That's what we thought. At that point, we didn't have Jeff Moore back there like helping us with that. It was like literally just like me doing my best. And I was like, oh, well, here goes my life. I'm just going to be answering support tickets for eternity, basically. And we didn't get many at all. I think we got like 10, like right out of the gate. And I panicked. I went, oh my gosh, that means that no one's using it. So I went into all the user data because I'm like, oh gosh, we're dead in the water. Nobody's using it. And that wasn't true. The agents were actually logging into it more than their sales managers were. And that was real interesting to me. So I started polling the individual agents like, hey, do you have any questions about it? And most people are like, no, I just kind of log in and I know what to do. Like I go to the call screen, I can see all my calls. Yeah, it definitely lines up with the calls that I made, and I click on them and I kind of know what to do, right? Real fun on that side. So this is the org level view, right? So we spool all this data up to the org level. This page is only a page seen by admins and owners of Shiloh accounts, right? Not the individual real estate agent on your team, because we don't want people to like haphazardly just be able to see everybody's conversations. So from here, there's some really interesting things that can happen. Yeah, we got a lot of great data about keyword concentrations and lead sources and really fun graphs to be able to go like, oh, I wonder if questions asked is correlative to appointments set or like whatever that is, right? Like we can do lots of fun things. But there are some things that are not possible, that were not possible before Shiloh showed up. So best of Zillow, you can see Levi's call volume, very heavy on that flex side. So he has a search over here called best of Zillow. How is he doing that? Well, he created a search here that is all of the calls, all of the agents that have made at least 20 calls to the lead source of Zillow Flex and held over a 3-star rating in the past 30 days, right? So now I go over to the agents tab over here, and instead of guessing at his 300 some odd agents and who's doing the best, we know exactly who is doing the best right here and now. We don't have to guess at this anymore. We can see it right here in front of our eyes. Or even something like ZHL mentions. And again, this is not just Zillow Flex like worthy, but this is, I'm just showing you examples because Levi is heavy on this side, but the keywords are a very interesting tool to use to create searches. So ZHL mentions, how is he doing that? Well, Levi got creative and one day said, I actually want Shiloh to monitor the first names of all of my Zillow home loans advisors. And every time that that keyword shows up only to the lead source of Zillow Flex, I want to see who is saying that the most. So now we can go cool, look, Neil is saying it the most. That's interesting. But if we click on Neil's profile, we go to his individual agent profile, we can see that that's only 16 times out of 82 calls. That ratio probably not as good as we thought it was. And by the way, when Neil logs in as an individual agent, he clicks on this Insights tab. This is exactly where he goes. This is his individual agent coaching page. So if I go to sit down with Neil and go, okay, I need to coach Neil on how to improve. What I'm going to like go through here and poke through all of his role plays and all of his calls and try to make sense of all of this. Like that would also still take forever. So you just click on Shiloh Insights. And what Shiloh is doing right now is it's reading through Neil's about 90 calls, 89 calls that he's made in the past 30 days. And it's going to give us the top moments and top improvements over all of those calls. So now we don't even have to guess at that. We can sit down with Neil and go, Neil, you're doing a kick-ass job at these 3 things. And here's the things that we really need to hone in on to increase your Shiloh call grade, right? So here it is. Demonstrating market knowledge. Way to go. That's actually not very common. Proactive problem solving. Building rapport through empathy. Great job. Clarify and anchor next steps. Instead of just saying, let me call them, he could say, hey, I'll call the listing agent today and I'll get back to you by 3 p.m. for an update, right? Reframing client concerns positively, using more positive and confident language instead of saying things like, I think we can try. You know, that does not make you, doctors don't say, I think I can lower your cholesterol with this drug. Like they go, oh yeah, so your cholesterol is high. And what we're going to do about that is we're going to do this. Right. So I'm confident that this strategy is going to position us well in negotiations. Better phrase than I think we can try. Right. And then what's fun about this is as a team leader or sales manager, you can do this at the top level. So you can come up here to all the calls. You could have Shiloh read through 20,000 calls if you wanted to. Click Shiloh Insights. Shiloh is now reading through 4,500 calls that have happened in Levi's org in the past 30 days to give us that exact same thing. Right. So everywhere that we go, we're trying to create clarity in this conversational layer in the industry that does not exist. It is impossible to create this kind of clarity without utilizing AI to be on every single phone call, right? So it's funny how impatient I get. I'm like, oh, it takes up to 60 seconds. And I have to remind myself that the robot is reading through 4,500 transcripts in less than 60 seconds.
Well, while you're waiting for that, Jay, we have a question from Adam in the chat.
Yeah.
Just popped up. There it is.
Okay, Adam, that's a good question. Can you set people to their different standards for what counts as 5-star calls? So yeah, let me hit that up. Here's the thing. This is the same thing, but for the org level. So Adam, the short answer is no. We do not allow people to change the call rating system. The real reason for that is we unfortunately know how people might use it. If we did things like allowing the call rating to be moved because you wanted them to say more of this keyword, well, that's fine if it's like, I want them to say just checking in less, but that's not fine if we're wanting to say, oh, hey, we want the score to actually increase if they mention Zillow Home Loans on the phone. That's a clear RESPA violation at that point, right? The division between even things like keywords and that call rating scale creates a compliance buffer, actually. So if somebody came calling and said, hey, we heard that maybe there was a RESPA violation because you were tracking these ZHL things. That's actually not true. You can say, I'm actually tracking these conversations to make sure I can monitor and make sure that we are saying the right things on the phone calls to ensure that that is okay, right? The cool thing, though, about the call rating system is that it's predicated on those 3 things I mentioned. So it is building rapport, like confidence and trust, managing objections, setting clear next steps. It doesn't matter what sales framework you're using at all. ALM, LP Mama, whatever sales framework, the universal callback script from Craig Proctor's world, like things like that. Every call script on the planet can agree that those 3 things that I mentioned should happen on every single call, right? So we have not run into the reason to do that. However, there is one caveat to that. Like I said, we have different models. So let's say you have a non-licensed ISA. Well, like in Levi's org over here, that's his client care representatives. So he does have 2 licensed ones, but here are his non-licensed ones. Those people are only going to be making non-licensed ISA calls all the time. So they should only get graded with that model, right? But more appropriately, if they're a licensed agent, then what should happen here is they should just abide by whatever the model is set to the stage. That's what stage AI model means. So we go over here to the stages from his Follow Up Boss account. And now we can see that these top of funnel, leads are sitting on the sales the sales model, right? But then we get to listing agreement signed and active listing and customer service. Great. We should probably use the customer service model because it's slightly different in the way that the whole setting a next step thing is still important when it's appropriate. But Shiloh would do things if you use the sales model to grade just customer service calls. What will end up happening is like I'm talking to Chase and I'm like, all right, Chase. So I just explained to you how to fill out your seller disclosures. And then Shiloh's going to hand off a 3-star call and be like, you should have set a next step on 3 o'clock to follow up with Chase. You're like, whoa, chill, Shiloh. Like, not quite necessary here, actually.
And I remember that in real time because before that model came out, I would like, Justin, dude, we just went over the SPQ. I'm like, there's no appointment going on here.
Yeah, we don't really need that, right? So yeah, the customer service model, it's still going to say things like, it's going to suggest things like that will be appropriate. Like, hey, getting this thing live on the market is, this is one of the precursors to getting it done, is getting the seller disclosure statement done. So let's just make sure that we check in by Friday this week to make sure that that gets done and you don't have any questions. So that way we can go live on Friday, or usually you go live on a Thursday, but you get what I mean. So it's still appropriate. But what it cares about a little bit more is a true customer service process, which is I'm explaining this complicated thing to somebody. I explain it, and then I allow them to ask questions. Like, what questions do you have about that? I answer their questions. And once I've answered all those questions, I repeat everything back to them with those answers in mind, right? So I recap everything that we just talked about. And then I set some kind of, hey, this is what's going to happen next, because I'm explaining, I'm allowing them to ask for clarity. And then when I say it back to them, I'm confirming that we understand what each other is saying. And I'm closing open loops, the anxious loops in the back of their brain, right? So another good example is a buyer, I don't know, they just got their inspection report back and the roof needs some love, right? So, okay, cool. Worst thing you could do is, hey, yeah, roof needs some love. I'm going to call some roofers and I'll get back with you. They're an anxious mess. They're like, I don't know how much a roof costs. This is like $50,000. Well, am I going to lose this house? I really love this house. That is a bad way to handle a customer service engagement, right? The best way is I'm going to call Jimmy, and he is the best roofer in town. He literally re-roofed my house two years ago. Jimmy should be able to get back to me by the end of the day, but I'm going to be giving you a call or a text with an update by 3 o'clock, no matter what. So you'll be hearing from me by 3 o'clock. Cool. So anxious loop closed in back of their head. So, and then we also have a recruiting model. So like I said, and you have many organizations where they are both a active real estate agent and also on the side doing recruiting calls, right? So then you can create a stage for like agent employment lead, for example, and set that to recruiting. So you can customize it, do all of that good stuff. So hopefully I answer that question correctly. Yeah, maybe. All right. Sounds good.
Yep.
Adam, thank you. All right, sweet. Okay, final, portions of this is, I don't know.
So, well, just for clarity purposes, since you're almost there, like one click away, what is the 10-second onboarding process? I know what the answer is, but it's
copy follow boss API key, paste it into Shiloh. You're connected, go into FUB, turn on embedded widget. We took all the thinking out of it, right? So you don't even have to log into the embedded widget. Once you have authenticated a Shiloh account on your side with your FUB account, the app will notify Follow Boss to let it know that it's free to log into it in the embedded widget, right? So we try to take all of the guesswork out of it. You don't even have to memorize your username and password to get the Follow Boss app turned on for your organization, right?
Perfect.
So very easy. And then from that conversation, usually is like a manager training. Like, okay, let's train the person or people that are going to be utilizing this to coach and train agents. And we are teaching them specifically on how to utilize Shiloh now at this point for onboarding, how to celebrate top calls. And by the way, that's real easy. Here is all of the top 5-star calls in Levi's org over the past 30 days. So that's real easy. Or you can run it off of like top averages, which is a little bit more complex because a 3.9 over 54 calls is freaking incredible. That's a really good call. And every now and again, somebody will show up with a 4.0 call and only have 10 calls. And that's not quite apples to apples. So the clearest competition to run is just most 5-star calls or a 5-star call, right? And then also for weekly role play sessions inside of their organization. So we'll train at that. Once we have a good game plan for implementing those things in the organization, then we'll go to agent rollout. So your client success manager from Shiloh will be on that call on Zoom, excited to introduce it to the real estate agents. And then by the end of that, we'll go over here to the users tab and go, Levi only has one in here, but there'll be all of your agents on your team that do not currently have logins. You just select them all and click invite, and it will invite them all as users just like that. So everything's nice and easy.
Excellent.
Yep. And then even on the accepted tab over here, you can see their last login, their last call they made, the last role play, total platform activity. So you can see whether or not people are using it, or if they really need to be tapped to use it, things like that, right? So
you can see some pretty high adoption, which is awesome for these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to see. And by unlock, some real fun things are going to show up that will increase adoption, like Shiloh taking action for you automatically. Or here's a fun little tease. Let me go over here. You see this little Ask Shiloh bubble right here? We have a lot of people asking us like, hey, can you add a filter to find this thing? Which is the core of what they're asking is, I want more visibility into my calls. I want it even more granular than you're even giving me ability to see that. But what's in people's minds is the only way they know to see that is on a table view like this, like a smart list and FUB, and you just keep adding more and more filters to it, which is confusing, actually, right? So our solve to that is going to be, here's the Ask Shiloh thing. Now you could be like, hey, Shiloh, what are my last top five, like 5-star calls? Or how many people did we speak to last week that had a dog? And it will be able to find that information for you. And better yet, what this is going to turn into is a mobile application where you can talk to Shiloh and you can say, hey, I'm about to meet with Chase, or I did just meet with Chase. Can you move a stage to appointment met or client met, brain dump into it? But actually after those conversations in person, because we're going to have the ability to capture those, and after your phone calls, you won't even have to tell Shiloh to do that. It's going to create appointments. It's going to create notes. It's going to start tags, and better yet, enrich the contact record with marketing segmentation tags that you are not putting in your CRM. Like, they're an investor client, they're a cash opportunity, they're a mortgage opportunity, they have dogs, you can't say family, it's not allowed, and you can't say things like go to church, but there are some lighter ways around that, like multiple dwelling, like things like that. There's some other ways that you can go about those things, right? So we're going to be enriching the contact record with those tags so you can segment your database more clearly.
And that's well, you had teased the voice, take action thing last year in Vegas. And so it's cool to see that coming to fruition in a more broad scope.
Yep, it is a lot of fun to do that. Notifications, I'm not going to bore people with the rest of this. You can set up notifications where Shiloh will come notify you if people do certain things, basically, so you don't have to live in the application. It'll send you email as well as like give you in-app notifications of like, his call rating went below a 3, or, whatever that thing is, right? So I guess final thing is billing. So pricing. Shiloh is based, do not let this scare you. Everybody looking at this, Levi is a massive real estate team. And if you are a team of 300 agents, you look at that price and actually go, that's actually not that bad. So with that being said, you can see in real time how many hours you've used. Shiloh starts at 10 hours for $199 a month, right? So very easy. And it scales up and down from there. So you can manage your plan. You can move up tiers. You can go down tiers. It prorates you forward, credits you backwards. So that way you never leave money on the table, right? We want this to be as malleable as possible. And even if there's a circumstance like, okay, I have a budget for all of my total team is 100 hours, but I don't have a budget for that price tier. Well, we can go into the integrations and we can go, cool. Well, we don't have to listen to everybody. We can turn off some people. Maybe we don't want to use it for all the stages. Maybe we just want to use the budget that we have for just top of funnel conversations. We also don't have to use it on all the sources either. We can go turn off different lead sources as well and not utilize Shiloh on those lead sources. So we created as many ways as possible for you to spend the budget that you do have on the most important calls for your organization, right? So that's the way that billing works. Again, starts at 10 hours. Anybody, it doesn't matter if they're a 1,000-person organization, you can try it on for $199 a month at 10 hours. But the fun thing here is, I'm going to bring this over here and put this on the screen here. Oh, can I full screen this instead and make it look real fancy? There we go. Okay.
Super fancy.
So we're doing something, the only place that we've ever done this before was actually for the Cheplack Tahoe Mastermind. When you see logos like those big ones down there at the bottom, know that everybody's paying for Shiloh. We do not do a situation where we give Shiloh to people for free in order to market their name across the industry. We don't do that. It's like thoroughly against who we are. We want to wholeheartedly say that these organizations are paying that much money to use Shiloh because it's working for them, right? So we don't give Shiloh away for free to anybody, but the closest that we'll ever get is like the thing that we're going to do here. And we've only done it one other time, and it was just this week in Tahoe, actually on Wednesday. So we are going to give for my RECC members here. Is it REC? No, it's just REC now, right? Yeah, REC. Yep. If you scan that QR code right there at the top, that is going to give you 30 days for free on the platform. Because at this point, we have enough data to know that it works. We know exactly where to implement it into your organization to get it to work. We have confidence that in that first month of you using it, you're going to see some good things that are happening in your organization, as well as many pain points. Like I remember when Ryan Young, the CEO of Fellow, he runs a big real estate team. When he first got set up with Shiloh, his average call rating was like 2.7. And they pride themselves on being good on the phone. He's like, we suck. We're just going to burn it down, shut the team down. I'm just going to do Shiloh. I'm just going to do Fellow full time. But what's good is that exposed all of the areas that like they should focus on to get it. And now their average call rating is above 3%, 3, and they're doing a really great job over there. So it will also expose those areas that you were oblivious to in your organization at that point. And there's also, I guess I could give the link itself. Would that be helpful for people that don't see this QR code, or would that be? Well, I guess what I can do is should I just put it in the chat here? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen really quick so that way I don't have it memorized off the top of my head. Link.shiloh RECC. There it is. Found it. AI/RECC 2025. Excuse me that it still says RECC, but you guys changed your name on me, so
our domain is still RECC, so it's all good.
All right, sweet. So that's the link right there. Sweet. So you click on that link.
It's a valuable link.
Yes, that's going to get you 30 days for free as long as you are a RECC member, right? That's the prerequisite to that.
Excellent. Awesome, man. Well, this was fantastic. I'm not sure if we have any questions to jump into, but I mean, big team, small team, solo agent that needs help. I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's been one of those things that we've jumped into at first, and it's been so cool to watch the evolution of it. Number one, from a supportive standpoint, but number two, what I've seen and noticed on the team itself. And we do celebrate the 5s. We celebrate the 4s. I mean, they're not easy to get. I remember my first 5-star call.
You texted me.
And I texted Justin, I texted somebody, and I'm like, dude, I still got it.
It's so funny about that. We onboarded a huge team, and their ISA manager was sitting on the onboarding call, and he had to step out in the middle of the call to take a call. And he comes back and he goes, "Hey, did Shiloh grade my call yet?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, it did. Let's look at it." And he pulled it up, and it was a 4-star call, and he's like, "No, bull crap. Like that was A+ conversation. Like that was not a 4-star." I'm like, "I don't know, man. Let's just look at the call coaching and just see. You can feel free to disagree with it." We pulled it up and he goes, yeah, it's right. All right. It doesn't matter. I'm going to make 300 calls if that's what it takes. I will be the first person in this organization to get a 5-star call.
I did very similar just on Tuesday. One of my agents was in our conference room out here making calls, and she comes out. She's all pumped up. She's like, "Oh, this is a great lead we got. You want to sell something here, want to buy over here, and that has to be a 5-star call." And I said, "All right, let's go in, just like what you just said." And it was a 4. She said, "You've got to be kidding me." And I said, "Let's go look at it." And I said, "Okay, well, I can tell you exactly what the problem was. It was that the follow-up, the next step was, I'll get in touch with you next week and we'll go from there. There's something along those lines." And I said, "No, what it should have been, and to get that 5, it would have been, great, I'm going to make these changes for you, yada, yada, yada. What I'll do is I'm going to give you a call back on Tuesday at 11 o'clock. We'll go over what we've been talking about so far and see where we're at, whatever that is." And she's like, "Oh, yeah, I didn't do that." There's your 5.
By the way that you say that, because I've had some big team leaders pull me aside and be like, "Hey, wait a minute. The person that closes the most deals in our organization is sitting mid-pack on this call rating thing. That cannot be correct." We pull them up, and they are doing that thing that you just said, not clear next steps, but they are still high agency people. So they do follow up. They do continue. They will harass that person until that person picks up the phone again. But the problem is they're being inefficient. If you set the clear next step on that initial call, you don't need 7 follow-up texts and 3 phone calls to go track them down again, right? It's done. you did it on the first call. So that's also saving you time and making you more efficient. And the fun thing about that is like, hey, look at that. Your top closer on your organization could actually be even better, right?
Yeah. Well, one more question here, Justin, before
yeah.
we jump out of here. Can Shiloh work to monitor phone calls from different sources, like working on mobile versus a landline? Interesting one.
Landline, not so much. Mobile, if you are using the Follow Up Boss app, right? So we're also integrated with FUB, Sierra Interactive, Bold Trail, Go High Level, soon to be Lofty, and Commission Sync as well, right? So the prerequisite is you need to use the dialer in your CRM, right? We can't record the conversations on your phone. It's like literally wiretapping. Apple doesn't allow it and will never allow it to happen. Yes, there is that new setting where you can like click record on an iPhone, but even that recording, they don't really give anybody access to that thing, right? So that's not ideal. And honestly, if you are a team leader or a real estate agent, you can't, even as a solo agent, right? You need to know how to monitor your front end activities to get the tail end of things to happen, right? We try to monitor things like closings and GCI, but those are tailing indicators. That is a result of these things that we were doing on the front end to generate that business in the first place. And you can't track those front end, the like front indicators without doing things like using your CRM dialer, because now you know, okay, I didn't just make 100 phone calls, but I actually have those 100 phone calls that yielded 20 connections. Of those 20 connections, that yielded 3 appointments. Of those 3 appointments, that yielded 1 closing. Now you know those front indicators and how many you need to do to get that tailing indicator to actually show up in your organization, right? Or as you as a real individual real estate agent. So I would ask you wholeheartedly, like, use a dialer that actually tracks that stuff for you automatically, so you don't have to do that on your own.
Well, Justin and Taz, that was a wealth of knowledge, and it's fun to go through this and hear you talk about it and share the philosophy behind it, and it's just been a great thing. So, yeah, if you're not using Shiloh already, he shared everything you need to know about it, right? Give it a shot, and I think once you do that, you'll realize how powerful it is. So, big thank you to them for being here, of course, and then no more plug at the end. Like I said, they will be, I'm sure they'll be at the lab. They're going to be at Unlock in Vegas, November 6th for us at the Hard Rock on the Strip. We were in the Dallas one, was great. I think Taz can vouch for that, and Justin too. The Vegas one, our goal is to just smoke what we did in Dallas. And if we can do that, I think we're going to be on the right track here. So myrecc.com, there's a button on the top that says upcoming events. That's where you get your tickets. The intention and the plan and the trends are going to sell out. So I would jump on that, and I hope to see you guys there. Justin and Taz, I will see you there no matter what. And again, thank you guys both so much.
Thanks for everything you do, man. This is freaking awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Have a great day all.
Bye.
See ya.